All right, let's call the meeting to order for the special informational meeting. Starting with roll call. You want to start us, Marty? Well, she has it on the second start of the other one.
Fig present.
Kikwan present?
Loki present. Point present.
Sweet present.
See a quorum present. We'll go on to item 3, approval of the informational meeting agenda.
Support.
Second. Support. Second.
Motion by Coin, support by Sweet. All in favor of approving tonight's agenda, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any motion's approved. And going on to item 4, new business, 2024 annual report, and public comments and questions. Doesn't look like we have anybody anybody online? No? Oh, what do you got, Rodney?
This is the second of the 2 required meetings that we must hold every year. Public Act 57 of 2018, which governs the work of our downtown development authorities, requires these meetings. We kind of went over our report at our first meeting on July the 23rd, and that video is available. So I won't repeat that, but I will note that our annual report, annual synopsis of activities is available on our website. It will continue to be available on our website, as well as reports for past years. So with that, I'm happy to answer any questions you may have.
Probably a good thing, nothing new than those that sit here.
Anything else? Last call, item 5, public comment. Still nobody online?
Nope.
Okay, guess we can call this public informational meeting adjourned. Fulfilled our Public Act 57 duties. Okay, we call that adjourned 4:34. Let's move on to the regular meeting. Let's call that meeting to order, 4:35. And let's start the Pledge of Allegiance.
United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, Marty, you want to start us a roll call for the regular meeting?
Sure, Fig present.
Zalek present.
Kikwan present.
Loki present. Point present.
Sweet present.
Move to approve the agenda as presented.
Second.
Got a motion by Milky, support by Sweet, to approve tonight's agenda. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, the same. And the agenda is approved. Moving on to agenda item number 5, approval of minutes of the July 16th regular meeting minutes in your packet.
I'll make a motion that we approve the minutes from the July 16th meeting as presented.
Support.
Got a motion by Fig, support by Coin, to approve the July 16th regular meeting minutes. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, same. Hearing no opposition, the motion is approved. Meeting minutes are approved. And how's the July 23rd informational meeting minutes.
Move that we approve the July 23rd meeting minutes as presented.
Support.
Got a motion by Zalid, support by Fig, to approve those informational meeting minutes. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, the same. And the meeting minutes are approved. Moving on to agenda item number 6. Presentations. Anybody? No?
Just jump into the podium.
And number 7, public comment. See nobody present. Is there anybody online? No? So we'll move on to number 8, reports, accounts payable for July.
Good afternoon, everyone.
Good
Afternoon, Sherry.
Okay, we'll start with the accounts payable for the East EDA. We have a payment to Black Electric for $2,475. That was to hang the outreach banners on Pickard, and they replaced a wire to the sprinkler controllers. We had a payment to Consumers Energy for streetlights for $666.78. And, the first payment to Black Electric was actually something that you approved in June, but the check was not received, so we reissued another check. So you've really already approved that payment. So then the second payment to Black Electric was for $4,215.45, and that was to replace four freeway lights with new LEDs, and then replace some LED drivers and light poles on Pickard. So some upgrades there. And then we had a payment to Gunner Lawn Care for mowing along Pickard and the empty lots for $2,775. And then we had a payment to Teal and Turf Irrigation for $910.50, and that was to repair some irrigation on Pickard. So we have a total accounts payable of $11,042.73 for the East DDA.
Move that we approve the bills for the East EDA as presented.
Support. Got a motion by Zalid, support by Milky. Hearing no questions, all in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, the same. And the East EDA bills are approved. Thank you.
Okay, moving on to the West DDA, we just had one payment to Consumers Energy for $100. This was to get a new street light at Lincoln and Independence Drive going. So going forward, there'll be some electrical charges for that.
It's not there yet, though, right? It
Not
just
there.
okay, I'm like, man, I
But-
could have noticed.
But it's going to cost a total of $100 to
Yeah,
put it in,
yeah.
which is amazing.
Yeah. Did somebody tell them about the one down in Broomfield?
Yeah,
Nice to get that one put back too.
Oh, at Broomfield and Lincoln?
Lincoln.
Yeah.
I had a
There used to be one.
Yeah, they were working on it. That was more challenging because the light that was there was actually the road commission's light.
Oh, really?
In the blinker or whatever's in the angle.
Oh, okay. Yep.
And so that is in process, but they have not come back with any kind of a plan yet.
All right. Good, thank you. Been a while for that one.
That one will likely cost a good bit more.
Could you get a longer wire?
We're ahead on this one.
Yeah.
So the road commission has the onus to put it back up?
No, they don't.
That's on the township?
Well, and nobody will put up an overhead. This will be a pole mounted light.
Yeah.
Or more than one potentially. They were looking at exactly what would be best there. My suspicion is it'd be 2 pole mounted lights probably to light the intersection properly.
And that's the township's responsibility?
Well, it's, if we want it, yes, we have to pay for it.
You could find your way to work, Marty.
Well, I was just thinking that if they had it as part of the contract, was it included as?
No, it was not.
It was not.
It would have been done if it was part of the contract.
Yeah.
Okay, I get a motion
I
on
move
that?
that we pay the $100 to consumers for the new street light.
Motion by Salad, support by Coin. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, the same. And the motion is approved. Thank you.
Okay, moving on to the East DDA financials. Looking at your revenue and expenditure report, you'll notice that the property tax captures are now posted for the year. And so your revenues are at 86% of budget. And then your expenditures, everything that you just approved from the payables and the checks that were issued are posted in the expenditure area. And you're sitting at about 5% of the budget used for the East DDA. And then looking at your balance sheet, because you had money coming in, you'll see an increase in your balance sheet. So you have about 2.5 million in assets and fund balance. Are there any questions on East DDA, on the East DDA financials? If not, I'll move on to the West DDA. Looking at your revenue and expenditure report, again, your tax captures are in now. And so revenues are at about just under 98% of budget. And then your expenditures are sitting at about 6% of budget. And your balance sheet, you have about a little over 1.6 million in assets and fund balance. Any questions on anything today?
Thank you.
All right,
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hearing no questions, or let the record show, the financials were presented, read, and filed. Also in your packet, and item 8C, you got the board member matrix for your review. And moving on to agenda item 9, new business. Discussion on proposed fiscal year 2025 project priorities. We got there, Rodney.
Well, thank you. On the agenda, you have I received electronically, in that electronic version, it had the links to our implementation strategies documents for each of the DDA districts. We talked last time that you wanted to have that for this meeting. So those have been there. Certainly if anybody needs a paper copy, we can also provide them, but they are on our website. This memo, dated August 14th, is essentially a preview of coming attractions related to our proposed 2025 budget. This tried to hit some of the highlights of the items that we would propose to include in that budget. Some of these are simply either continuing funding that we do every year, and some are carrying over for projects that have not yet been completed. But we do have a couple of new items. One is one we've talked about before. We broke this up. The first section is items to include in both, proposed to include in both DDA fund budgets. Then after that, we have the West DDA and then the East DDA. In the first section for both DDA districts, item 4 there, we are proposing to put some funding towards a wayfinding signage project. This is something that's been discussed. It's in our project plans, implementation plans. And it's something that is of interest to a number of entities in the community, including the Convention and Visitors Bureau, the folks at Isabel Sportsplex, which constantly have to try to direct people to find them. And the tribe is interested as well. There's some city elements are. So this would be a collaborative effort. The Convention and Visitors Bureau has indicated an interest in assembling a group to have the conversation started. And so proposing to put some money in the budget to be available for potentially for doing some work in our DDA districts related to wayfinding signage. This wayfinding signage typically, these are amenities, these are parks, things like the Isabel Sportsplex, the ice arena and Maury Courts, various public facilities like the Sheriff's Office, Township Hall, City Hall, Post Office, all those kinds of pieces. Right now, CMU has some wayfinding signage around related to their facilities. So proposing to create more of a regional network to help guide people in and through the community. So that's that item there. The other new item, significant new item is under the East EDA. It's on page 2 of the memo. It's item E6, and this is some funding to take a different approach to trying to get some road paving done for our existing industrial area over there off of Packard Street and Airport Road, Corporate Drive, that space there. That was added to our East EDA district. We have proposed funding previously to do road paving there. Have not been able to get the road commission on board. Essentially, the road commission has indicated that if the township does all the work to deal with right-of-way, easement, whatever is needed, all the title work, legal work, survey, whatever is needed, that then we can come back to them and move ahead. But they do not want to move ahead because to the road commission, there's question about whether those road rights of way, some of them anyway, whether they're public or private. They're talking primarily about Park Place and Corporate Way as two of those roads, but also Packard Street, frankly, is another one that there's some question in the road commission's mind about what's public and what's not. So what we're proposing to do here is to do that work. They're putting some money to doing the engineering work, title work, legal work needed to pin all of those questions down, get answers to all the questions, and bring certainty to the future project to improve those roads. This would not include actually paving anything. That would be a separate project. But it could, if all goes well, get us to the point of being able to pave those roads. Talked with our Gordy Frazier, our engineering firm, and they felt that this was a reasonable number to work with, potentially for the engineering effort, and added some for the other pieces of the puzzle. The other items, most of the other items you see in the East EDA are carryovers, carryover underground irrigation, replacement, gateway signage, and some things that have not yet moved forward. So, with that, I'm happy to answer any questions, and certainly if there are other items that you're interested in, I'm happy to look at those too.
I wondered about E1. It has the same language as E5. Are those two separate proposals, or is that?
Oh, that is a duplicate is what that is. Thank you.
800 sounds a lot more than 400.
Yeah.
Right.
Nope, that's a duplicate.
Okay, all right.
I think I moved that and didn't delete it from the
Yeah,
other spot. Yep.
it looked like the exact same language, so I thought it might be. Thank you.
Good catch, Marty.
Yeah, that's what I had too, but I had, as you were talking about E6, just to follow up on that, ultimately, if we have success and are able to move forward there, it's not just the roads that are an issue, but water and sewer as well, right?
Mm-hmm.
So.
Well, there is actually, water and sewer utilities are there.
They are. I think they were.
The water is, I know at Packard, we put it's a big 15-inch sewer that runs the whole length, comes
Yeah,
down
really?
Airport, turns and comes up. So there's an easement for that,
Yes.
and so everyone kind of, but there's no public easement.
Well, I don't know that that's actually true.
Oh, that we have an easement?
Well, right, that is, I believe.
I-
No, it's not that we
No,
don't
no.
have an easement, it's that I believe is running in the public road right of way. There's just some argument about that, whether that's a public road right of way. But when the sewer was put in,
Yeah.
it was put in within that space, as a,
Yeah,
So-
so there's no, yeah, yeah.
but we,
But-
I will tell you that with regards to Packard Street and those signs that Mr. Malley put up
Yeah.
that say the road abandoned, he has a First Amendment right to say what he wishes. We have chosen not to argue about it.
No?
There's absolutely no point in
No,
arguing about it.
absolutely no
But the
point.
road is not abandoned, and there is right of way through that space. So the only question is whether it is public or private, and nothing about any of the legal descriptions for the rights of way through there indicate it's private. So,
Well, the interesting thing, talking to Pat Gaffney, is on, like, the Park Place, that the property descriptions are, you know, there is a right-of-way for those two streets. But who owns it is, I mean, when they platted it, they platted, you know, the lots are all, and yep, those are streets, but there's nothing in there that says who even owns the street, owns those, that parcel today. So it probably a worthwhile project, because it is an area that would need to be cleaned up, and there's gonna be someone with a lot of patience gonna have to talk to property owners down through there.
but we have several owners that are along there that are interested. We have,
Yes, I would hope so.
It needs improvements, the road's
Yes.
in bad shape.
Yeah,
Yeah, but they don't have to maintain it either. I mean,
yeah.
there's
But
a lot of advantages to making that a county road ultimately.
and I know there's water down Park and that, but I don't know if there's a lot of sewer back there.
Certainly, the capacity may not be enough for new development in those
Yeah.
spaces, but there is existing sewer throughout that area
Yeah.
as well as water. So
So-
there may be an opportunity to improve the sewer situation.
And
That's part of
I
it.
would, if we're going to pay for the engineering and that, make sure that whatever language is finalized with the property owners, that it is, that, you know, that the township retains right to be able to put water and sewer in there.
On the west, I think it's listed as W-2. The $50,000 I think we're carrying over from the budget from this year. Is that the same amount then?
That was the same, yeah. The 400, by the way, the 400,000, the current budget for that land assembly is over 500. We just set it at 400, we didn't use any of this year. We felt 400 was a good number to work with. But yes, the 50,000 is the same as the current year.
So, I don't know, maybe this is getting ahead of the cart before the horse a little bit. But we're looking at potentially doing irrigation on the east, if that's something we want to look at long-term on the west. Does it make sense to have design and bid kind of together with that? I mean, if we're looking at street improvements such as, I'm assuming this would be lighting, flowers, benches, those kinds of things, right?
That could be, yeah, it
Could
could
be.
be. I mean, it
Who
could be
knows?
as simple as putting street lighting in.
Right.
It could be more, and that's
Could be
really,
more.
will be up to you as we
Yeah.
move forward.
Because this, as it actually reads development of plans,
Right.
not.
So this is really funding to create a plan.
No, and I gathered that. I just, as I was looking at the east, I'm thinking, well, if we're having it done there, is there a cost break of, even if we waited on the east one season so that we could get one larger bid, I don't know. I just was curious.
I would,
Timing on that might not work.
But there also could be
we can do whatever we want. I guess I would lean the east, we have an existing system that was removed during the project. And so we need to have the discussion, do we want to replace it? And it's because that's always been there. On the west, that, to me, it's a different different question on the west. Do we wanna create that annual cost and everything
Right.
by doing there, that's putting something in there that isn't there yet? And I would say driving that as frequently as do, it looks okay. I don't drive the east to know, enough there to check, but I know the west seems to be good. Mostly.
Yeah, what made me think of this the other day was, road commission sprinklers were going when I went by.
Yeah. Yeah.
I think it'd be worth keeping them separate. The east, we have the conduit, the pipe, that's underneath all the driveways, it's already there,
That's true.
so the west, that's a whole extra
Different.
element.
Yeah, okay.
It's gonna be a different project there if we choose that.
I don't think we need to make the project any bigger. We can figure out a way to do smaller chunks. Would be something to consider.
Yeah, I wasn't quite sure, because it's broad, I think on purpose. It says new street lighting or other streetscape improvements.
But-
My mind went to, well, what's the potential for that? What
No,
are-
absolutely, that should be on the table, I agree. So, but $50,000, we'll get a consultant to help us work.
Right.
Would that be subject to include as part of the plans is to investigate any grants that might be available that would include streetscaping in DDAs?
Well, we're always watching for that kind of thing. Typically, those kinds of grants end up going to traditional downtowns, cities and villages. They tend to be aimed in that direction. But we are always watching for grant opportunities. Our engineering consultants, Gordy Frazier, share things with us. I watch for stuff that comes through. Our Michigan Downtowns Association group that I belong to also sends out grant postings as they become aware of them. So as things come up, we're watching for them. But as I said, typically with the streetscape, those are going to the more traditional downtowns. Usually the eligibility requirements are aimed in that direction.
What, on some of the smaller stuff, like in the east, like E3, E4, 7, 8, like, because I know we've been talking about those for a few years. What's the holdup, I guess? Like, so E3 is the new gateway sign entrance. E4 is the demolition of the industrial parks. It feels like we've been talking about them for a while. So,
We have.
is there holdups of?
Largely, that's staff time. Amy Peak would ask me the same question because I had her put together a draft request for bids for the signage, and I have not done my part to get that complete yet. That we're working on it. Michigan College is still interested in participating, so that's why we're carrying them over, and there's still a need. So we are continuing to work on those things.
Any more comments or questions?
Just point out the hardest thing to not see here is what's missing, because it's easy to critique what's put on the list in front of us. I just want to ask the question, is there something that,
I'd still like to look at
Lincoln Road.
finishing Lincoln Road, and I know I may be out of order, but I talked to Pat, and he presented me what cross-sections and what plans that Pete Lorenz has drawn up for that section. And I'd be happy to, at some point, between the township and the board, just agree on a cross-section. I think everyone thinks that, okay, we'll keep, my personal ideas, and just talking with Pat, is make a curb section, widen it out at, on the south side of Picker, or of High Street there, so you have more stacking. So you have a long lane for left-hand turn, and you've got a long lane for, and maybe make it a third lane, so you've got going straight and then a right-hand turn. So clean up that intersection. One thing would be is to, because we're only gonna have one, southbound lane going down Lincoln, rather than a traditional 30-foot radius that you can see how that looks like out on the other side of the road by McDonald's, is make a wider bend there. Well, that's gonna require moving consumers' poles and maybe the strain poles for the traffic lights and that. Try to lay that down and play with the grades and the sections so that we don't need as many grading permits going down through there. You know, there's probably some people that should be a little easier getting a grading easement, but, you know, that was a huge problem south of the bridge. And so whether we can facilitate that, but at some point, go from a curb section to just a paved shoulder, like we have, you know, the rest of the way down Broomfield. Easier to construct, keep our ditches, and so that's my bad. I've had that on there for a month or so, and I just need to sit down with the board's blessing. I'd like to sit down with Pete and Pat and kind of at least come up with and get some input from the township on what to make that a connecting, you know, the dots on the pathways. Because the reality is, in the 66 county right-of-way, it's hard to put sidewalks in. If we put a curb section in there, we have the option to put them, you know, put sidewalk right at the back of the curb, if you want to do that. Or we can just widen it out, put a curb in there, and have kind of like a paved shoulder with a curb section. So there's a lot of variables we can do to affect cost, and as importantly, the grading as we go down through there to minimize the number of easements we're gonna have to get, and or power poles to move and things like that. But I would like to see you finish that. We've got, yeah, 3/4 of it done already, and it'd be nice just to finish that and finish it off, and then at that point, we can add sidewalks to the extent, you know, we've got room for them, or street lights or whatever, on that corridor, with it being a designed approach rather than like we're forced to do out on M20, come back and weave the sidewalk around the existing poles and everything like that. I did the best we could with that, but it, you know, my right brain twitches every time I drive down through there, and see that. That's a personal issue now.
So I had
It's
conversations with
It's a fun
Pat.
bike ride, by the way.
Yeah.
The skateboarder's
Yeah,
paradise.
yeah.
I had conversations with Pat this summer saying the EDA has expressed, because we've talked about this a lot,
Yep.
expressed the interest of having discussions on finishing up
Yep.
Lincoln.
Yep.
And I got some pushback, and it makes sense. The pushback I got was, well, the Paisley rating on that is too high still for us to want to correct that road. That was what I was told this summer.
Yeah, and that's what apparently told Rodney, and that wasn't the vibe I got.
That's why I'm
So,
asking, because that was the push.
What the spin I got, spin maybe was a pejorative, but I think what they have abandoned is the Isabella Road 3-lane cross section where they've got curb and gutter, and they've given up on that concept of the ring road. They are definitely interested in making that an all-weather road.
Right.
And they're also interested in making this stretch of Lincoln from 20 up here, and I think this probably could be already because it's built to new standards. But if they can make that an all-weather road, they would like to do that. Now, where the dollars come from, you know, that's always the magical question. But I think we've got dollars to help support, and, you know, if there's some grants, you might have to wait in line but if you got some money to bring a substantial matching fund to put in there, then you can, maybe the board would chip in a little bit, and maybe we'd write a 2% grant, or, you know, there's other things that can help build the fund rather than just us, but we've got a substantial, and personally, I drive that road every day, and as do a lot of the board members, and be nice to see that thing finished.
If we get roundabouts put in, we'll get MDOT included too.
There you go, roundabout money, figure out a place where you put one there, M20, there you go. Now, probably not too far from the truth either.
No, I was half joking.
Well, I will say the issue with the Hazel rating is a challenge.
Yeah.
And so, and typically with these projects, we have the multiple funding sources.
Yep.
The tribe has been very helpful.
Very, very generous.
And the Board of Trustees has been very
No,
helpful too. So
Yep.
my thought is, I mean, we certainly can put a kind of a placeholder item in the budget for it. We can put some money into it.
Well,
But my thought is this is probably something that's really a planning project for the next year, or maybe even 2 years, and before we really look at having something in point of construction.
and so, again, if the board doesn't take exception, I would like to work with the road commission and kind of get that ball started. Because again, you know, just the original design they have for the intersection, which makes sense to me, is, you know, consumers got a big power pole and MDOT's got to move that. So things like identifying those obstacles and trying to, okay, let's get these things moved so that when we do come up.
Well, the only other thing I will say, first of all, a couple of things. I will say that township staff administration does periodically meet with the road commission staff to talk about all these kinds of projects.
Yep.
And my suggestion is that we let things continue that way, in part because I want to make sure that you don't get into a situation where you have a conflict to be able to potentially apply to do some of the work. I'd rather you do the work than to do the planning
No,
part.
but I'd like to think that I've got a little bit of expertise in terms of, you know, the neighborhood and utilities certainly that have went down through there, and, you know, guide some of the, like, you know, one of the things they had on the plan was at Independence, they wanted to cut it down. The original plan was to cut that down 3 or 4 foot so they could, you know, drain the surrounding ground. Well, there's this water main crossing that's poured across there that's gonna have that much cover if you do that, and then the water main that runs down there is, you know, you're gonna have to relocate it, so.
How much?
Because I'm pretty familiar with there, if we can just change the grades, okay, let's do this, is there different ways we can do these cross sections and that? I don't wanna be responsible for designing it, but if I can help avoid some of the conflicts they're gonna have, and cost, because again, someone's gonna have to pay to relocate the water main. Oh, who knew? Well, I know. And so if I can get, and again, I've got plenty to do, get a full-time job still. But I would like to, you know, offer to lend my expertise in the area and work with whatever group. And I certainly don't want to do it at the exclusion of the township. That needs to be part of it, but at least go down through there and, like, say, okay, can we do this and that are just strictly engineering issues? And then the other thing we'd want to get an input is just what that cross section looks like as you go down, Lincoln.
Are you referring to anything on the southeast corner where the drainage ditch and the oil service line is
South,
running?
which south?
Of Lincoln and 20,
20.
Remus, right on the southeast.
Yeah, that whole-
Is that what you're referring to?
Well, the
As-
whole length, if you go down,
But
that's
I'm
one of
going-
the issues, there's.
That's one of the complex problems of that intersection, is how much going on with that drainage ditch,
Yeah,
the oil line that's going through
Yeah.
there, and
Yeah.
any other services that might be in that
So-
easement through there.
Is it oil or natural gas?
it's oil, it's pipeline.
Really?
But there's also.
That's another segue, but it's, yes, that's the need to deal with, but, you know, just as an example on that side, what Marty's talking about, the old, before you put the big West DDA drain in, that used to go, there's a 30-inch that runs under the intersection and comes out there on the east side, just south of Dozers, on the east side of Lincoln Road, and there's a little drainage ditch. Well, right now, that's strictly just an overflow ditch. You know, the main drain takes most of it, and then it goes, runs down the north side of 20, but there is a conduit there, and we actually did make it an overflow ditch so that water could come down there in a real big way. Okay, do you leave the ditch there? Be nice to move that over, build a lane there so you could have a left turn lane, a straight lane, and a right turn lane, but to do that, you're gonna have to do something with the ditch. Do you enclose the ditch? Do you put pipe in there? Do you know? Those are the kind of issues that, as you walk down through there, there's just one every 100 feet. So, like I say, if I can get the thing jump-started a little bit and try to keep it down, get us a little more reasonable design, and not that, I mean, because Pete doesn't know, but just, and then we're gonna have to get some direction from, you know, the community to, you know, decide, okay, what do we want that thing to look like? But right now, what I'm looking at is the grades like this. And the fewer dips, or maybe there's time, and one of the reasons they wanted to dip down is okay, then we don't need as much of a grading easement. Maybe we don't need grading easement. If we cut the road down, you know, we don't have to put dirt over on somebody's property. So those are the kind of considerations that I would like to, in the next year or two, address, and so we get a little closer, rather than, hey, we got a design, but no, we can't get grading easements. And try not to repeat what happened south of the
Yeah.
bridge.
I guess I call that pre-design concept planning. And it sounds like you have the vehicle already, you guys kind of meet.
We do,
Maybe
and
that's
there
something-
have been conversations, as was noted. At this point, I don't think it's something on the front burner, but it's certainly recognized that it's a need. And especially it's a benefit to certainly make it an all-season road, that last section. My thought would be as we can have those conversations, I'll suggest to Mark that we invite Jen,
I'd be
you to
happy.
be part of that.
If the board has no problem with that, I'd be happy to lend my.
Would it be something to consider forming a EDA committee regarding that issue to look into? Or appoint somebody to look into that sort of
So I'm
information?
like,
Yeah.
I don't want to ambush them with a committee either.
Yeah,
you
no,
know?
but I think probably I think there's an existing vehicle. They're meet with the road commission. You know, I can bring the plans, get plans, and we can sit down and put an agenda item on that meeting, and let's utilize that, because at some point in time, it isn't gonna be, oh, Jim drew this up, you know, and Pat said it was okay.
It's just good
What I can do is.
conceptual input from a guy that knows it in the field. You
Yeah,
know?
and
It's
that's
a lot of times that's what's missing in the
And-
finished drawings.
and so-
Yeah, because that seemed to pop up in the section from Broomfield down to, there was a lot of set in stone that got delayed, and
Yeah,
then
and so
changed dramatically.
The only way we're gonna change that is we do some of this work ahead of time, and hopefully, one of the goals would be is to reduce the amount of temporary or permanent easements we need to do whatever we wanna do down there. And I think that'll be a worthwhile objective, but again, if you're meeting, I would be more than happy to volunteer to sit with you and make a pitch, and if you think we can be productive and move forward, awesome. And if we're spinning our wheels, but I don't ever see that road getting done until some of this stuff does, or I make some noise, so I'm making noise right now.
I appreciate that, and hopefully they'll give you the opportunity to help that along.
So, looking forward to it.
So maybe that's something you can throw on the next agenda or following, just to kind of keep it on the table.
Yeah, we'll certainly follow up with you about that.
Yeah, just let me give me, I'm usually around, so just let me know what, when you all are meeting again. I'll try to get some paperwork around, share with the group. At least start the conversation.
On the East DDA, I'm looking at E3, and I think it's just a zero eliminated. It looks like that's supposed to be 20,000.
It certainly is, thank you.
Okay.
I know I brought up water and sewer on E6, but I'm happy to see that on this list. Because that area, if we can take advantage and turn that into something more productive, it's huge.
Yep. Yeah, and that should just be a slam dunk if you get something sorted away.
Yeah.
My sense from a little bit I've talked about, or talked to people, is you have a lot of old personalities there, characters, that, but having a plan, nobody lives forever. And if you got a plan, maybe the next generation will be a little more meaningful.
Seems like improving that area would be to the benefit of those that are there.
I would think it'd be
That's what I was thought, but
easy
you
to
went-
sell.
you know that
I don't, but there's a reason why it hasn't
No,
happened, so.
Right.
So any more comments on the
So, thank you.
item?
Well, you'll see these again as part of the proposed budget then, and that will be coming up, might be even next month, but more likely October, for the proposed budget.
So we fulfilled your action requested.
Yeah.
So let's move on to item 10, pending business.
Nothing at this time.
Number 11, director comments.
The only thing I'll just mention is what you've already seen, the road, M20 road paving project is moving forward. They're talking about being done in October, which is great. We'll see, but they certainly are in good shape for that, seems like.
They've been on it.
Yep, and they are still planning to put back our elements that the contractor's hanging on to, the missing planters and other items. They're on the list, but they have not moved forward with that part yet, but it should be coming fairly shortly now that they're working on that side of the road. So that's all I have for you today.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Hearing no more comments, I guess we can call the meeting adjourned. 5:19. Thank you.
Thanks, Tom.
Yep, thank you.
Thanks, Tom.